Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We are ATAC, the Assistive Technology Advocacy Center of Disability Rights New Jersey, and we are here today with another Tech Spotlight. And today I have with us Lee, who's going to talk to us about Genio and Genio Present. So Lee, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and get started.
Thank you for the introduction. So we are actually Genio, pronounced Genio. Most people will maybe remember us more as Glean. So we've been around for quite a while and we changed from Glean to Genio in June, so only a few months. And most people will already be familiar with Genio Notes. Again, it used to be called Glean, which was a note-taking tool that a lot of students use in especially post-secondary education to help them take notes in class. One of the reasons we changed from Glean to Genio is because we're launching new products. So not just note-taking anymore. And the first of our new products is a presentation support tool that we call Genio Present. So it's designed to help anybody who needs to do any form of public speaking, really. So primarily going to be aimed at students delivering presentations, but anyone who has to do any kind of public speaking will be able to benefit from this tool. So I do want to show you it, but just to set the scene of what we're trying to do with it, I've got a couple of quick slides to run you through. And the first thing that I always like to briefly talk about is why this is important, because I do firmly believe that building good presentation skills is essential for a lot of people. And the first thing is that one of the reasons being able to present out loud is often a requirement within education is that it does promote a lot of important critical thinking skills. If you think about the process you've got to go through to deliver a presentation, it's quite complex. You've got to think about what you want to talk about. You've got to structure them into some kind of cohesive argument. You often have to have visuals like slides to help represent what you're trying to say. So it does require a lot of energy and effort to do all of that. It's also a really good thing for you as an individual because learning how to talk in public, whether that's online or face to face, really does help to build a lot of self-confidence in people. Now, it's not easy to do, but if you can get more confident at doing that, it's not only going to help you with an education, but obviously when you progress into the workspace as well. Just from a practical point of view, though, presenting is something that is increasingly used to assess knowledge. So presentations are often part of graded assessments. And obviously, well, I'll say obviously, you might be able to tell from the accent, I'm UK based, we are UK based, and we're certainly seeing an increase in oral assessments. I think partly because of the rise in the use of AI, where you can get people submitting essays and assignments that have been entirely written by AI, which is obviously not a good thing. And one of the switches we're seeing is a rise in people being asked to articulate and present on topics because it's quite difficult to fake that with AI. But obviously, this is hard. Some people will find public speaking and presenting to be an impossible task, and if you have additional learning needs, neuro differences, other disabilities, it can be even more challenging. One of the things that a lot of people use to help them with presenting is using speaker notes or flashcards as a memory aid, as a safety net if you get stuck while you're doing your presentation. And these things can be useful, but I think there's a few considerations when using them. The first one is that there are lots of different ways in which you can utilize speaker notes, and you need to find the one that works for you. So I know some people will use digital speaker notes, so they might, have them embedded in their PowerPoints or Google Slides or whatever it is. They might use dedicated apps that that they're going to refer to. My colleague uses her iPad. Other people prefer a more manual method of doing it. So you'll have seen people giving presentations with physical cards that they're using, little cue cards. My favorite method of utilizing speaker notes is to have cues on the slides themselves. I often say that the text on these slides, yes, it's kind of for the audience, but actually it's for me as well. It's to help remind me of things and points that I want to talk about. But the thing that I always try to remind people of with the digital methods of speaker notes and flashcards is that there's a high risk, a common risk of those things not working. I've been in scenarios before where someone's clearly been wanting to use their phone or their iPad to help them when they're giving a presentation, and it hasn't worked. And then they're left absolutely stranded because they've completely relied upon having those speaker notes. And that's why I find a lot of people prefer the more manual method. It's a bit more reliable. But what I would always say is that whichever method you choose, if you are going to use speaker notes, one of the keys is not to become over reliant upon them. Because if all you're doing is reading from your speaker notes, it can often be quite disengaging for the audience. You can kind of tell when someone's just reading or they're just reading the text directly from the slides. And also from the speaker's point of view, it can actually increase a lot of cognitive load because you can go from, just having to worry about talking and remembering stuff to then having to worry about, using an app or a phone or managing to get your cards in the right order or whatever it is. And that can actually add to the problems sometimes rather than alleviate them. And I think although these things can be helpful, when it comes to speaking, there's absolutely no substitute for just learning your material and practicing as much as you can. Because the goal really is to practice and practice and practice to the point where you're confident you can deliver your presentation without the real need to rely on those speaker notes. And this is what we're trying to help with Genio Present. This is the method and the thing that we're focusing in on. So it's a tool that is designed to help you alleviate that presentation anxiety. And it does it with a strong focus on practice and practicing in a very structured way, which I'll take you through in a moment or two. But it's not just practicing. The idea behind it is that you can practice as much as you want, but if you want to get better, you need to analyze your practice sessions. You need to do some self-reflection or watch back your rehearsal sessions as if you were an audience member. See what went well, maybe things that didn't go so well that you could improve on other rehearsals. And another thing that I have always valued is the opinion of other people. When I'm building my webinars and sessions and demos that I do, because I do a lot of presenting, as you can probably tell, the nature of the job, I always run it by a test audience. So if I've got a new webinar planned, I will plan it out, practice it, wait till I'm happy with it, and then I'll share it with people. And I'll get them to give me feedback because they, are my test audience. And if I can get them telling me it's good and they're happy with it, then it gives me a lot more confidence to be able to go and do it in a real world environment. So that's what Genio Present is really focused on helping people with. I want to show you it now, though. So let me come away from those slides and into Genio Present itself. You can use this technically on any device you want. So I'm obviously doing this on my laptop via my web browser. You can use the web browser on your mobile device if you want, on an iPad, on a tablet, but the experience is kind of more designed for use on a laptop. And we're going to take a fairly simple scenario, and we're just going to imagine that I am a student and I have this presentation to give, and I've planned it all out. I've got the slides that I want to use. What I want to do now is become confident delivering it. And the way I'm going to do that is by practicing it. And this is where the structured rehearsal process comes in. So what I do when I'm ready to have a run through is I would go into Genio Present and then start a new rehearsal. The first thing it asks you when you do this is whether you've got any specific goals for your rehearsal, because sometimes when you're practicing, you're doing it for a multitude of different reasons. Sometimes you're just wanting to try and get your content out and everything you planned on saying, and maybe you're not bothered about how you say it. But then other times, maybe you just want to practice your fluency. So if you do have any specific goals, you can select them in here. You don't have to if you don't want to, though. But if you select the ones you want, you can then click on continue. Now, first thing we're going to do is give my rehearsal a title. I'm just going to call this demo. And then what we're going to decide is what do we want to capture while we're rehearsing? Because it's going to record these rehearsal sessions for you. Now, the default thing it's always going to capture is what you're saying, because obviously in presentations, you're going to be talking. So that's a given. But there are other elements that you may want to consider when you're rehearsing. One of the important things for me is body language. Now, how do I come across when I'm presenting, especially in a face-to-face environment? And the way that I can check that while I'm practicing is by starting my camera. So when I go on here, it's going to turn my webcam on. And what this means is that when I'm practicing delivering, I can look back at this later and see what I look like. And I can analyze, am I doing all of the hand gestures that I want to do? Am I, doing the eye contact or looking around the room? Whatever my goals happen to be, I can see whether I'm actually doing that whilst I'm practicing. The other thing that you may quite frequently want to capture is any supporting visuals. So slides, I guess, is the most common thing that people are going to be using in presentations, but it's not always slides, of course. A lot of my presentations are not slide based. I'm demonstrating software like I am now. When I'm using this internally, sometimes I'm preparing for meetings where I'm going to be running through slides and PDFs and all sorts. So the way we do that in Genio Present is to give you a screen capture option. So basically, if you click on this start screen capture, it allows you to record anything that you're showing on screen. Now you get the option of just capturing directly from an open browser tab, or you can choose a specific window that you've got open, or an entire screen. Now, I happen to have four screens in front of me, believe it or not. So in this example, I'm just going to choose the screen that I want to capture. It's going to be that one there. It's got my Google Slides on here. And then I would just click on share. The point being here that it allows you to record what you're saying, what you look like, and anything you plan on showing on screen in your rehearsal sessions. Now, the only other thing you might want to consider when you're doing a rehearsal is timing, because frequently you will have a time limit when you're given a presentation, especially assessed ones. So that's why we have a little timer in here. It's no good me planning a presentation that's going to take me 45 minutes to deliver if I've only got 10 minutes. So you want to make sure you can do it within your set time limit. So I could go in here and say, right, I've got 5 minutes to deliver this presentation. So that's how long I'm going to give myself when I'm rehearsing. So all I'm doing here is setting this up, telling it what to capture in my rehearsal session. Once I've done this and I'm ready to practice, I would then start to record, and then it would be as simple as me going into my slides, going into slideshow and talking. Now, I'm not about to give you this presentation in case you're wondering. You're not going to get a 5-minute presentation on understanding chlorophyll and its role in plant life, but hopefully you understand what's going on here now. It's recording what I'm saying, it's recording my camera because I've turned that on, and it's recording the slides and any of the visuals that I'm showing on screen. And of course, I can see my little countdown timer here if need be. Now, once I've finished my rehearsal session, then of course I want to stop the recording. So that's what I'm going to do now. So we will stop that there. As soon as you stop, it asks you a question. And you can skip this question if you want, but I always think it's useful to answer this because it's asking you, how did that go? How do you feel that practice session went? Now, the reason I think this is a really important question is because the whole goal of this tool is to get you to the stage where on your final rehearsal, you're telling yourself, you know what, that went really well. And I'm going to give myself a 4 star or a 5 star rating. In fact, when I'm using Genio Present in my job, I will keep practicing and practicing and practicing until I'm rating myself 4 or 5 star. Because it's only when I get to that level where I feel that I'm confident enough to go and deliver it in front of an audience. Inevitably, when you first do a run through, though, it's probably not going to be 4 or 5 stars, so we'll just give this one a 2 for now. And by rating them, what it also allows you to do is you can compare. So if you do rehearse 3 or 4 times or whatever it might be, you can see that progress, and that obviously will give you a bit of confidence as well. Now, once we've done this, what it's doing now is it's putting all of this together. So it's basically creating a video for you here with obviously everything that it recorded, and because I turned the webcam on and the screen capture, everything there as well into one big video. And it's going to transcribe all of the audio side in here for me as well. So this is the rehearsal side of things. But what I want to talk about now is what do you do afterwards? Because the idea isn't just to record your rehearsal and then not look at it. The idea is that you will go back into it and then afterwards you'll sit and watch it back. And when you're watching it back, you're going to try to identify what went well, what needs to change, areas where you can improve. Because that's most people's goal is to try and give the best version of their presentation that they can. Now, I'm not going to use this little demo file for this because I was just waffling on for 42 seconds. But what we do have built into Genio Present here is a demo rehearsal that we can use. Now, this demo rehearsal I can download. It is basically a mock 5 minute presentation of a student giving a presentation on understanding chlorophyll. It's just easier than creating your own. You can download that as many times as you need, and it's just this one here. So let's say this was one of my rehearsals, and now I want to go and watch it back. Well, this is very straightforward. Tool's dead easy to use, to be honest. I would hit the play button in the video and then watch it back. You don't have to watch it back from the start if you don't want. You can obviously click to wherever you want in the timeline. And of course, if you want to navigate through this using your transcript, you can as well. So if you just wanted to go to something you said on here, you can also click on one of these little timestamps and it will take you there. Now I'm just going to hit play just so that you can see what happens. It will start to play this rehearsal back, and it will also synchronize the transcript as well so you can follow along with both. So I'll just hit play and let that play for a second or two.
I am Helena Harrison, and today I'm going to be talking to you about chlorophyll, which is, the molecule that gives plants their green colour.
Just pause it there. Now, one of the things just to call out for those of you who've seen our other software, Genio Notes, is that in the transcript, we process it a little bit different to our other software because we include in here all of the disfluencies in the speaker's rehearsal. And by disfluencies, I mean all of the times where you'll say and non-words effectively. The reason we include all of them is because when we were building this tool and doing a lot of research into it, one of the main goals of people delivering presentations is to improve the fluency. So we didn't want to hide any of those things away. We could have done, but we want them to be very clear and visual in the transcript. So you can see all of the times where you're doing it, and then hopefully you can work on improving that if that's one of your goals. Now, the idea, of course, when you're watching this back, and naturally while you're watching your own performance back, you're going to get these thoughts and ideas. You're going to probably think to yourself, oh, I need to change that, or that didn't work too well, or whatever it might be. So what you can do is you can capture those thoughts and ideas by adding timestamp notes against parts of your own rehearsal. So let's just say, for argument's sake, I've listened to that part back and I've got a comment to make about it. I would just go into this add note field, and this is where I can add whatever I want. So maybe I just add in here, try to reduce hesitations. You can obviously add whatever comments you deem fit. And those comments will be linked to that part of your rehearsal. Now, I'm just going to add another comment to another random bit. Let's scroll down and pick a different part. Let's just say that. So maybe we'll add another comment here saying I need to expand on this explanation more. Now, when you're adding a comment like this, you can just add a text one like I did before, but what we've also done is added this add emoji option. And I use this quite frequently as a means of categorizing what my comments are about. Because when I'm doing this, I'm often making comments about a range of different things. Sometimes I'm talking about the way that I've said something. Sometimes I'm talking about changing what I've said. Sometimes I'm making a comment about the slides that I've been using whilst I've been saying something. And I have my own little emoji system for doing that. So, for example, this speech balloon, I use that to symbolize a fluency issue. I use the light bulb when I've got an idea about changing something. If I've said something I really liked, I'll use the little heart symbol. So you can do whatever you want. That's just my little system of making sense of the comments that I'm making. So that's why I'll always use them. People will come up with their own system, no doubt. Now, I find this self-evaluation piece invaluable because you sit back and watch your own performance. You can get a lot from that because you're then acting as the member of the audience rather than the speaker. The challenge sometimes, though, is some people are really hypercritical, and this can often result in somebody watching their own performance back and cringing and thinking, oh, that was awful. I'm never going to be able to do this. But that's often not actually the case. So this is why I want to talk a little bit about feedback, because I really value getting the feedback of other people. Because I can watch this back myself and analyze it myself and make my own comments, but actually my opinion kind of doesn't matter. What really matters is the opinion of the audience. So I have some trusted people that I will share my rehearsals with and ask them, what do you think? And this is super simple to do with Genio Present, because what we have up here is a button that allows us to share this rehearsal with whoever we want. So when I click on share rehearsal, it allows me to create a sharing link. So this will be a unique link just for this rehearsal session. There it is there. And then what I would do is just copy this link to my clipboard and then email it to whoever I want to gather feedback from. Now, I'm obviously not going to do that now, but what I am going to do, so you can see what it looks like, is just open up an incognito window in my browser so it thinks that it's somebody else. And this is what it would look like. So if I email you this link, it would take you to this page. Now, as the reviewer, all you need to decide is whether you want to remain anonymous or not. If you want to remain anonymous, you can just leave this blank and go and continue. But if you want the person to know that it's from you, you can, add your name in here. So let's just pretend I'm getting some feedback from my colleague Angus. Angus puts his name in there and then clicks on continue. It will then give Angus, whoever you're sharing this with, a copy of your rehearsal, which then they can play back and add notes to just like you did. But the key thing here is that the person you share this with, they don't need their own version of this software. Because the reality is they're probably not going to have their software themselves. So you can literally share this with anybody and as many people as you like. And then that person can sit and watch your performance and make their own comments, obviously linked to the different sections. So I'm not going to dwell on this because we've already covered it, but let me just add a comment here. So maybe Angus has watched this back and then has left a comment to say, need to explain this bit better as it doesn't make sense to me, or whatever they want to leave feedback on. Now, I want to see that feedback, of course, and I want to know what that feedback's in relation to. So I'm just going to close that now, and then we're back on my screen now, the user screen. Now, if I just hit refresh, you'll notice now that I have a feedback tab available. Now, when I go into the feedback tab, this is where all of the feedback I get from other people will be. If they've left their name, you'll be able to hover over and see who the feedback is from. And then this allows me to obviously gather the opinions of trusted people, friends, family members, other students, whoever it happens to be. And also, it allows me to know exactly what they're talking about because this is not just text in an email. I know that this is related to a specific part of my presentation, and I can just click on that little timestamp and it will take me to that part of my presentation that the feedback's related to, which just means that you can actually do something with that feedback and you know exactly what that person's leaving feedback on. So much easier doing this than the methods I used to use. There is another way you can do it as well, though. If you want some instant feedback, this is where we can leverage AI to help us because we have an Insights tab in here. And if you click on Create Insights, the AI is now looking at your rehearsal and it will provide you some instant feedback. And I do think this is useful because A, it's instant. You're not always going to get instant feedback when you're sharing it with other humans. But B, it's also non-judgmental because it's not a human giving this, it's a computer doing this. So as you can see, it generates some insights. It breaks these insights down into various sections. And if you expand any of these sections, you can see that it gives you some areas of strength, but then it also gives you some areas where it thinks you maybe could improve and grow upon. And I think that the insights alongside the third party feedback and alongside your own self reflections is all useful. It's all valuable information. And it will then help you to improve on your next rehearsal and then improve on your rehearsal after that until you've practiced enough times where you just know and you're telling yourself, you know what, I've got this. I practiced, I know it. I know I've run it by the audience members. I can do it. And that's what this is all about, getting you much more confident and building those essential communication skills. And that is Genio Present. But just before I finish, there's a couple of things that are going to get added soon, which I can't show you now because they're not in there, but I can quickly tell you about. So one of the things that we're going to be adding soon is the ability to download your rehearsals because we got some feedback that sometimes people are allowed to create a video and submit that rather than do a live actual presentation. So we're going to get that functionality in there very soon. We're also going to give a better way where you can group similar rehearsals together. That will open up the door to do a little bit cleverer stuff with the AI where you'll be able to analyze a collection of rehearsals rather than them just individually. But the one that I'm really looking forward to is this one. So soon we're going to be adding in a facility to allow you to practice answering questions because naturally the questions from the audience are a big part of presentations. And it's an area you don't control. And a lot of people are not comfortable in doing. So what we're going to be able to do very soon is get the AI to analyze your rehearsal, generate a series of questions that you may need to answer, and then you can practice answering those questions. Now, they may not be the questions the audience asks in the real world scenario, of course, but the idea is not to help prepare those specific answers, but just to get you more comfortable and more confident in your ability to actually do that live in the moment. And I'm really looking forward to that function when it comes. And I think at that point is a perfect opportunity for me to stop talking and see whether anyone does have any questions.
I
If you do,
do have a couple of questions.
yeah, go on, fire away.
Okay. So one of the questions is just about any kind of pricing, any kind of add-ons that we should be looking out for.
Okay, so first thing to reiterate is that this is a completely separate tool to Genio Notes. This is not an add-on to it. It is just a different software altogether. It's actually priced exactly the same as Genio Notes. It's so new that at this very second, you can't go on our website and buy it, but you can buy it through one of our US resellers, or you can email purchase orders directly to us. It will go on the website soon, but it's just so new that it hasn't made its way on there. But it is going to be exactly the same price as Genio Notes. So if you want to see what price it's going to be, go on the website and you can look at the Genio Notes pricing. And it'll be the same structure. You'll either be able to get it for 1, 2, 3, or 4 years.
Okay, great. And also, and this second question is, uh, there is no right or wrong answer, but I have noticed that some people discuss the features within PowerPoint presentation being useful in terms of rehearsing. And when you were presenting, I took note of some parallels. Obviously, it's not the same by any means, but
Are you
what,
referring to the speaker coach in PowerPoint? Because they've got a speaker
yes.
coach. And I think what that's a little bit more focused on is the kind of analytics of how fast you're talking and words per minute, and where it kind of can give you a bit of advice to slow down and speed up and stuff like that. It's
Mhm.
interesting. When we were doing our research into this, when we researched it with a lot of people, some people were telling us that that actually was really increasing their anxiety, trying to present and then getting a little pop up in the corner of the screen saying, you're talking too fast or you're talking too slow. Some people were not liking that. That's why we haven't led with that. But what we're doing is we're going to be listening to users, to be perfectly honest. We are considering adding an element of that in, but it would probably be something that we show after you've rehearsed, so that if you want to look at the analytics afterwards, you can, rather than something that's kind of popping up on screen whilst you're trying to rehearse. Because, like I say, our research was suggesting that that probably isn't that beneficial. Of course, everyone's going to be different and have the different opinions, but yeah, I think that's the route we'll go down with the analytical side of things. Because I think that'll be quite useful. I'm interested in knowing how fast I'm talking or what my words per minute is and stuff like that. I think that is useful information.
Mhm. Like I said, there was no right or wrong answer. I just knew that there were some similarities that pop up within PowerPoint that allowed you some rehearsal opportunities. So I was just curious what your answer would be.
Yeah, I mean, of course, with PowerPoint and Google Slides, what they will allow you to do is to record your presentation. But what they're not really geared towards is you then sitting and watching it back, analyzing it, jotting all of your own notes down, being able to get the feedback from other people, being able to generate the AI powered feedback. It's not so much geared towards that side of things. I mean, I used to use the recording functionality to go through this process. I mean, what I used to do is record in Google Slides, create a video out of it, send that video to my colleague. They'd then watch the video back and then email me their feedback. But then I wasn't quite sure what the feedback was related to, so I was asking them to put like timestamps in it, and it was quite fiddly. So Genio Present just allows me to do what I've always done, but within one platform in a much easier way, rather than using multiple things. But again, that's just me. That's my workflow, I guess.
No, that is completely valid and a solid response. So,
What I would say as well, I mean, I've gave a demonstration of this, but we're always keen for people to try it themselves. So if you would like to give this a go, right, and I'll pop this link into here, we have a form where you can request a demo account. So if you want to have a little play with it, you can do. I will pop this link into the Zoom chat. Hopefully everyone will be able to see that. You can actually request a demo account for both of our tools in there. So Genio Notes, Genio Present, or if you want both of them, both of them. And that is a full version of the software. It's not, I think it's set at, is it maybe it'll give you access for 2 or 3 years? It's really designed for anyone who needs to demonstrate these tools to other people, because we obviously always don't get the opportunity to do that directly ourselves. That's why we're quite happy to set up these demonstrator accounts for anyone whose job it is to demo AT to anybody.
okay, great. So I have opened that link, and what I'll do is when I send a follow-up email with um with the recording link available, I will place this link in that email as well,
Yes, feel
just
free.
just so people have it. Um, and we'll go from there. But thank you so much for taking the time today. We really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me on board.
And I will go ahead and stop the recording.
Okay, well, thanks everybody, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day.